So tonight, Gail Mackiernan, who needs no introduction, who has given many presentations to the Bird Club and has traveled the world all over, will be talking about Panama tonight. So without further ado, Gail.
Yeah, hi. I'll say hi to everybody. I will get my slideshow up, and we need to get the screen sharing. So let's see. Is someone doing the screen sharing?
I think you have to do it, Gail.
Oh, wait a second. Now let me close this down and end show. And put this down here and do share screen. Okay, I need my desktop. Share. Okay, hang on a second, everyone.
We can see it.
You can see it, but of
Yep.
course now it's a slideshow. Okay, has everybody got it?
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, this is I'm going to give a presentation on this trip to Panama that we took in April of 2019. You may remember those hoary days of the past when we could freely get on airplanes and go places without worrying about things. So this was almost one of our last trips. Haven't done any traveling since late 2019. So this doesn't seem as long ago as it was, which is of course 3 years, almost 3 years. This was our third trip to Panama. I went in 2002 and also in 2007, and I'll mention very briefly about those. Barry and I, my husband Barry Cooper and I went with two friends from England. They flew from England. They had never birded Panama. We went in the so-called green or wet season, that is the end of April, and had found out, landed that they had had a 6-week drought, which was not only affecting the birding and the forest, everything was very limp. It was also affecting the operation of the Panama Canal. But let's go on. We stayed, as we did on our other two trips, at lodges run by the Canopy family, as it's now called. These are a series of lodges in Panama run by a company started by Raul Arias de Parra, a businessman in Panama who's also a birder. Excuse me, I need to quiet my dogs. I had to take a toy away from my dogs. Sorry about that. So anyway, the participants are myself and my husband, Tony Quinn and Peter Carlson from England. We went to the Canopy Tower, the Canopy Camp, and then we stayed a day and a half in Gunayala, which is an indigenous area in the north of Panama, north coast, with the Guna Indians, because we were looking for a specific species there. Our guides at the Canopy family were Carlos Bethencourt and Eleazar Madrid. All the guides at the Canopy lodges are superb. You don't need to go down with another guide. You can just fly in and they pick you up at the airport. And then you're in their hands for however long you're there. It's absolutely painless. This is the crew, Tony Quinn, myself, Peter Carlson, and my husband, Barry Cooper. Peter Carlson worked for 35 years in the bird room at Tring for the British Museum, and he's credited with finding 8 new species for the world. So he's an ornithologist, but had never been to Panama. This is a map of Panama. Panama actually runs east to west. You tend to think of Central America, it's going to run north to south, but that isn't true for Panama. So Panama City is on the Pacific, and this is the Caribbean coast. The Canopy Tower is here, which is one of the lodges that I believe the MOS trip is going to. And they're also going to be going over here to the Canopy Lodge, which is in El Valle to Anson. And we didn't go there this time, but we did go there in 2007. But our target this year was to go to the newest lodge in the group, the Canopy Camp, which is in the far eastern province of Darién, which used to be almost impossible to get to unless you flew into a remote camp down here near Semaphore, right here, at Cana. And now Raul has opened this new camp in 2016, and we're very anxious to get down there. Just a quick look at some of the books, a couple of the books. The one we use in most of our trips to Panama is the one on the left, The Birds of Panama by Robert Ridgeley. A newer book, a 2018 book, is The Birds of Central America. It has really much better plates, but it's a heavier book and not one that you'd be probably dragging around in your pocket. The famous Canopy Tower was originally built in 1965 by the US Army as a radar installation. It's on the highest hill in Soberana National Park, which is in the canal zone east of the canal. And you can see the radar dome. It was abandoned in the 80s, and Raul purchased it in the early 90s and converted it into an eco lodge, which was opened in 1999. We went there for the first time in 2002. And since then, the trees have grown up a lot more. So actually, it's better now for even for canopy birding. A bit about the canal. Here's Semaphore Hill, which is where the tower is located. And as you can see, it looks over this vast 55,000 acre forest of the national park. And the reason there is so much protected forest is, in a word, the Panama Canal. Every ship that goes through the canal uses 50 million gallons of water to go through the locks. So they need to have a large watershed, and it's protected all along the Panama on either side of the canal zone. When you fly into Panama, you'll be met at the airport by a driver from the lodge. You'll be brought to the Canopy Tower. The top floor of the tower is the dining and library area. The food is excellent. There's wine with dinner. It's quite a luxurious accommodation. Now, it's a cylindrical facility, so the rooms tend to be pie-shaped. We stayed in a suite the first time we were there. Rooms are smaller, but there are fans and heaters, actually, because it can get cold. There's no need for air conditioning. We have never been hot there. So here's your day. You're going to start with sunrise to the east. So you're looking away from the canal, looking over this vast forest. You've climbed up those stairs onto the observation deck, which goes around the big yellow dome. And there's tea and coffee set out for you, some biscuits, and everyone's getting ready for the day. This is our guide for the most of the our excursion was Carlos Bethencourt. And there's Peter, Barry, and Tony looking at something in the trees. They have a couple of these little balcony areas too. And actually on them, you can really touch the trees. You're so close. They've grown up so much. Looking west, you'll see the canal with the ship going through. The first bird you're going to see almost 100% guaranteed is going to be a palm tanager. Now they're so tame, they'll come down and try to take biscuit crumbs from your hands. You're then going to hear the call of the yellow legs up in the trees, and you're going to be puzzling as why, how in the hell did a yellow legs get up in the trees? And you're going to realize it's not a yellow legs at all, but the call of the green striped vireo, which is a starling size vireo, green and almost impossible to see, as you might imagine, from the ground. But here you have it at arm's length. Another bird at arm's length is the broad-billed motmot. The black-headed toady flycatcher, a tiny bird the size of a kinglet, which would be absolutely impossible to see from the ground. Another common tanager is the blue-gray tanager. And another tiny bird is a lesser greenlet. It's a tiny vireo, not much bigger than a chickadee. A true tanager, that is a Tangera tanager, is this aptly named plain colored tanager. It has no color at all. It's probably the dullest tanager, true tanager in the world, except for a tiny bit of blue right up at the arm. Of course, you want to see some tropical birds like toucans. So the first toucan type thing you're going to see is a collared aracari, and they travel in small flocks coming into the tower. They do hang bananas up at eye level, so the aracaris and some of the other fruitivorous birds come in and eat the bananas, and you can get some very good photographs. The other visitor for the bananas are these endearing little Jeffrey's tamarins, which are sort of tiny monkeys. And we saw several with little babies eating the bananas. Because the Canopy Tower is at the top of the tallest hill, by the time it starts to get warm in the morning, you'll get thermals setting up. And so you'll get raptors coming in quite close. This is a gray-headed kite. It's one of the native raptors or the local species, but also during migration, and we were there during raptor migration, northward moving raptor migration, you get a lot of North American species. One of the most common is Mississippi kite, and we saw thousands of Mississippi kites passing north. I know we had one flock that we estimated was about 6,000 birds. This is a just taken video taken from the top of the Canopy Tower. You can just see the Mississippi kites coming up in the thermal, and pretty soon they'll peel off and go further to the next hill. Of course, they have hummingbird feeders there, and those are down at ground level, so you can sit on some benches and watch the feeders all morning and see some beauties like this white-necked Jacobin, blue-chested hummingbird, violet-bellied hummingbird, and white-vented pumulatir are all common birds at the feeders. The tower is at the top of about a 2-mile long road called Semaphore Road. And if you walk up and down that, you can do some pretty good birding as well. We were happy to see a pair of black and white owls. That's not a very good picture, but that's as good as we could get, roosting in a tree right along the road. Now, when you're at the Canopy Tower, they'll take you out every day to other sites in the general area. The places we visited were Old Gamboa Road and Summit Ponds, Ammo Dump Ponds, Pipeline Road, and later en route to the Darién, we stopped at a place not too far from the Canopy Tower, east of Panama City, called Serra Azul. So those who are going on the MOS trip, you're going to visit probably the top 3. I don't know whether you'll go to Serra Azul or not, since we'll be heading west to go to the lodge. This is the national park. The Canopy Tower is here. The Old Gamboa Road and Summit Ponds are here. Ammo Dump Ponds are here. And this is the Pipeline Road. Now, the pipeline was built in 1940s to carry fuel from Gatun Lake down to the area here of the locks, because they were concerned that the Panama Canal might be bombed or otherwise disabled during World War II. Well, that never happened, but they did build this 17.5 kilometer long pipeline with a road to service it. And now the pipeline was never used, but the road is still maintained for ecotourism. So it's really an amazing road going right through lowland wet rainforest. But the first stop is the Old Gamboa Road, an abandoned road through dry tropical forest. And here we are looking at some of the better birds that are there, like lance-tailed manakin, a male, Rosie thrush tanager. And if you're a family lister, you're going to want to see this bird because it is neither a thrush nor a tanager. It's in its own family. It has an amazing song as well, and it's an amazing color. This is its color. It doesn't look real, actually. There are jays. There's no crows in Panama, but there are several species of jay. This is one of the very largest ones. It's called the black-chested jay. And it has a white or yellow eye with a blue eyebrow. It's quite striking. A common bird and a beautiful songster, even though it's plain colored, is the clay-colored thrush or clay-colored robin. And these birds have now spread north into Texas. They used to be quite a rare sight in Texas, but they're everywhere now along the lower Rio Grande Valley. We did see mammals. This is the only picture I have of a Hoffman's two-toed sloth, and it was high in a tree. We weren't able to get it to look at us or anything, but there it is, a large hairy sloth. Going to the summit ponds, we're looking for several targets like the boat-billed herons. Now, boat-billed herons are related to night herons, but even more nocturnal, as you can figure out from those huge eyes. American pygmy kingfisher, Greater Ani. Sorry, not a good picture, but it's a very interesting bird, about a third again as large as the Anis that you might have seen in Florida. And lesser kiskadee, about half the size of the other kiskadee and not quite as vocal. So heading towards the pipeline road, we passed right by the canals, a cruise ship going through with a tug and also a container ship. All along the canal are wires, of course, electrical wires, and every wire has a tropical kingbird, as we call them, TKs. Ammo dump ponds is a place where ammunition used to be stored during the war. It's now filled in. It's quite a good place for white-browed crakes, but we didn't see any this time. We saw them on an earlier trip. Hopefully the people going this year will be lucky. But we did see purple gallinule. Arriving at the pipeline road, it's locked. We had a key to the gate. All the ecotourism guides have keys. And this is how they carry you along at the Canopy Tower. You have this large truck, Toyota truck. The back's been converted to bench seating, and you're looking out in both directions, left and right. The guide is looking too. So if you see any bird that he's missed, you bang on the top of the truck and he'll stop. This is lowland wet rainforest. It has a lot of super emergent trees like this fig tree. And quite a few very interesting birds. One of the big, most difficult birds, but we actually had one right as we were unlocking the gate, is this black-breasted puffbird. A lot of trogons. I think Panama has 7 or 8 species of trogon. This is a black-throated trogon, and this is a violaceous trogon. Quite a few little puff birds there, the very cute little insectivorous birds. This is a pair of white-whiskered puff birds. Another mott-mott, rufous mott-mott, and this looks like broad-billed mott-mott, but it's twice as large. And great jacamar, another beautiful glossy green and red bird, and about the size of a fish crow, I would say. The lineated woodpecker is in the same genus as the pileated woodpecker and has the same habits and very similar in appearance. Of course, there's a lot of antbirds, the Formicaridae. These are birds that are generally ground dwelling, feeding on insects. Some are and some are not obligate ant swarm followers. The ones, these two I'm going to show you are not. This is a slaty ant shrike. And this is a black-hooded ant shrike. These are about the size of a, what should I say, a little bigger than a tufted titmouse. A lot of flycatchers. This is one of the cutest ones. This is a southern bent bill, very aptly named. Now, one of the issues that we had been looking forward to, particularly our friends from England, to seeing some ant swarms, because both times when we were in Panama, we were greatly enjoyed some very large ant swarms with all their attendant antbirds. But because of the drought, the army ants were not very active. And we looked every day for ant swarms and failed to find them. And finally, on our last day, a guide from another tour company came rushing up and he said he's found a small ant swarm in the woods. So we went in, beat our way through all the jungle growth and came across this small ant swarm. This is a soldier ant right here. And these are the workers, and they're carrying some bit of prey. They had a bivouac in the roots of a palm tree, and every morning these strings of ants go out in all directions looking for prey. Of course, by capturing these insects, they also flush quite a few, and that's what brings in the antbirds and the other ant followers. One of these is a gray-headed tanager. It's an obligate ant bird. It's not an ant bird taxonomically, but it follows ant swarms like an ant bird.
Is it banded?
Yes, it is banded. There's a lot of research going on in this park, and I'm not sure who banded it, but I know the Smithsonian, of course, has their field station just across the canal on the other side, and so they may be doing work there. Bicolored antbird, obligate antbird, spotted antbird, and the one we were all looking for, ocellated antbird, which is one of the most remarkable looking birds to be found in Panama. Other birds are like this gray-chested dove, a beautiful ground dove, and spectacled antpitta right on the road. Quite a few mammals too. Quadamundi, pretty common. This is a three-toed sloth, and it's a male because it has this bare area on the back. White neck capuchin, white face capuchin, sorry. Mantled howler monkey. And these wake you up every morning. You're going to hear a sound that sounds just before dawn like a roaring wind in the trees. And it's not roaring wind in the trees at all, but it's the howler monkeys staking out their territory. Yeah. One of the other insects you'll see there are these leafcutter ants. And as you know, they cut the leaves and carry them back to their huge nests, chew them up and use them as a base to grow fungi, which is what they actually feed on. And here, it's quite amusing to watch them carrying the leaves along. Once in a while, you'll see a few ants getting a ride on a leaf being carried by somebody else. Just a bit of the vegetation, a lot of seed pods. It was a dry season or just coming into the dry season. This is a monkey comb, it's called. And this is the seed pod of probably the most important forest tree in that part of Panama. It's called a quipo. It looks like a ceiba tree, but not related. And you'll see some pictures of them later. This is their pod and it's carried by the wind. Leaving the Canopy Tower, we started driving east. And the first stop was Cerro Azul, which is a mountain, a small mountain just east of Panama City, which has a kind of an exclusive gated community at the top. You have to actually go through a guard station to get in. And there's a lot of expensive homes, expats live there, retired people, and businessmen and women who work in Panama City. At the very top of the mountain, they have a reserve. Now, we didn't have a lot of time to bird there, but we did end up seeing quite a few nice birds, such as this golden hooded tanager and spotted wood creeper. But the highlight of this was going to the home of the Harrisons. They're both retired doctors that have retired to Panama. They're from Indiana, and they have set up the most amazing feeder situation I've seen at a private home anyway. Here it is. This is all the all the hummingbird feeders are labeled, and it's kind of crazy to stand there and watch all these birds and try to figure out what you're looking at. And then on top of the hummingbird feeders, they also have fruit feeders. So you're kind of running from one side of their patio to the other, trying to look at birds like this beautiful crowned wood nymph, bronze-tailed pummelatier, snowy-bellied hummingbird, or on the fruit feeders, a red-legged honey creeper and crimson back tanager. Shining honey creeper, this is a male. This is a female, note the yellow legs. Another red-legged honey creeper, male. Green honey creeper, bay-headed tanager, all of these at their feeder. You could practically touch them. They're very tame. Anyway, we bid them good adieu and we continued to head east. And we stopped for lunch at a well-known restaurant in Total. All the birder groups stopped there because they also have hummingbird feeders, and you'll see some species there you won't see elsewhere, like black-breasted mango and scaly-breasted hummingbird. But eventually we arrive at the Canopy Camp. Now this is a camp built much like the African tented camps that you may have heard about or even hopefully stayed in. This is an open dining area on the left and a gathering area on the right with a small library, but you yourself stay in a tent. This happens to be our tent. And you have a balcony or a deck rather. And over to the left, there's a small building, a detached building where they have hot showers, flush toilets, and all the amenities. So there's no roughing it here. This is a luxury camp. This is the interior of the facility. This is a view from our deck. This is a quipo tree, the thing that looks like a saber tree, so to give you an idea of how big it is. And you'll see some wonderful birds right from your deck. Birds like keel-billed toucan or thick-billed euphonia. Or maybe you have your own hummingbird feeder and get a long-billed star-throat at it. So when you're at the Canopy Camp, you're going to visit a number of villages, which are indigenous villages for the Mbara people, and they're starting to develop a real ecotourism setup with native local guides, and Raul makes sure that every time we go to one of these places, that one of those guides is also engaged, and he comes along, or she in some cases, and they're learning or guiding at the same time. So it works out very well. So the places we visited were Alto Playona, Nuevo Vegea, Darién National Park, and then El Salto, which is kind of an abandoned road to a dock area. This is a map of the Darién. As you may know, the Inter-Americana or the Inter-American Highway ends at the Darién. This is the end of it at Yabitsa. This is where the Canopy Camp is. It's next to a 65,000 acre water catchment area. And then right over here is the Darién National Park, which is adjacent to and contiguous with Los Catillos National Park in Colombia. And this is the famous, or maybe I should say the infamous Durian Gap. So we visited villages in this area, and we visited El Salto, and then we visited this area here, which is at the foothills of Cerro Pere for Harpy Eagle, which was one of the draws for going down there. This is our guide at one of the first day. He's going to take us in to see the nest of a crested eagle. Now, Harpy Eagle is the eagle everyone thinks about, but the rarer of the two large forest eagles is the crested eagle, and it's much more difficult to see. And the Darién of Panama is probably the best place in the world, the easiest place in the world to see it. The indigenous peoples take a lot of interest in this, and they are constantly looking for nests and informing the Raul and the people at Canopy Camp and other ecotourism groups of the presence of these eagles, and then they themselves will take you in to see it. Notice he has quite nice binoculars. When you get close to the Crested Eagle nest, you'll have a sign that says a lot of things you can't do, including using playback, and that the area is a forest area and the animals must be respected. And also they've got cameras up watching you. So if you try to do anything naughty, they'll come after you, hopefully not with that machete. So walking, it's a bit of a walk into the Crested Eagle nest. On the way, we came across this semi-plumbeous hawk, another of the native raptors, a very beautiful bird. We were warned about the eagle nests. The way these birds are, as the chick gets larger and is ready to fledge, the parent only visits every day or sometimes every other day to feed it. And I try to get it to become, self-sufficient. So when we got to the nest, here we are at the nest, Tony's looking at the nest, and Carlos is setting up the scope. We're quite interested to see this nest, but there was no eagle of any sort. There was no chick, certainly no adult. So we're waiting and waiting. And after about a half an hour, suddenly in comes the chick. He'd been sitting, he had fledged and he was sitting nearby, but he's come back to the nest because he's hoping his mother's or dad was going to come in and feed him. So we did watch him for a while, and you can see that the Crested Eagle is white as a chick, as is the Harpy, and it has a single crest. The Harpy chick and adult will have a double crest. And this is only somewhat smaller, but a lot slimmer than a Harpy eagle. But it's also a large forest eagle that feeds on mammals, monkeys and kinkajous and things like that. So saying goodbye to the eagle, we walked back to our truck and we saw this. And the first person we saw asked us if we spoke French. And as we can see, they're not locals. And it turns out that we had run into a large group of people that had crossed the Durian Gap. It had taken them 6 days to cross the Durian Gap from Colombia. And they were all from Africa, mostly Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Congo, and Eritrea. And I think there were some from Ghana. So what happened was that they got to the villages and they were corralled by the Panamanian authorities, their papers examined and so forth. They were given food, water, a brief medical checkup, and then they were put on buses and sent north to the Costa Rican border. So I have no idea what happened. But when we got to the village, there must have been, how many would you say, Barry? Several hundred?
Yeah, low hundreds.
Yeah, several hundred people all corralled in a big meeting area under a pavilion waiting to be processed. So every day, hundreds of people were moving north from Colombia. And they told us a little bit of their stories. They had taken ships from Africa to Colombia or even Brazil and had walked sometimes for weeks on the road to get to the Colombian-Panamanian border. Now, the kids all spoke very good Spanish because they had picked it up en route, so that we were able to communicate with them. So this is a phenomenon that's been going on at least for 4 or 5 years, but just recently come to everyone's attention as they've finally made it to the American border. Anyway, back to birds. The next village we went to was Nuevo Vegea. And we did a lot of birding just around it. This is one of our targets, the bare-crowned Antbird. It's quite a strange looking creature. And beautiful red-billed scythebill, quite a striking wood creeper with his huge bill. In the town itself, gray-breasted martins breed under the roofs. But our real reason was to get on one of these dugouts and have our local guide take us downriver to an abandoned plantation where we had a couple of rare species that are specific targets in the Darién. So we piled ourselves into the boat, and this is in the afternoon. It was really beautiful. The children were all swimming in the river, and downstream we floated. No motors were used, at least going downstream. And wattled jacana, ringed kingfisher, same guy you'll see in Texas. Gray-lined hawk, that's a split from gray hawk, eastern Panama. Savannah hawk. Rufescent tiger heron. Black-capped Donacobia. So this is a bird that nobody knew what it was related to. They put it in with the mimid thrushes, and then they moved it to the wrens, and now it's in its own family. So if you're a family lister, you have to see black-capped Donacobius. Royal flycatcher, he didn't oblige us by spreading his crest. I've never seen one with the crest spread. I've seen lots of them, but mangrove swallow all along the river. But when we got to this plantation, and I should say this is a gray basilisk lizard. Now the basilisk lizard is also known as the Jesus Christ lizard because if startled, they'll leap on the water and run right across it on the surface of the water. It's quite remarkable to see. They have very big hind feet and they're able to keep themselves up by moving very quickly. When we got to the plantation, we could see it had really suffered a lot in the drought and a lot of dead and dying trees and crops, but we did manage to see our targets. This is one of the rare birds of the Darién. It's only found in a small part of Colombia on the other side of the border. It's a gray-cheeked nunlet. Actually, it isn't a gray-cheeked nunlet, excuse me. I got that wrong. Okay. This is a dusky-backed jacamar. Sorry about that. I don't know why I thought it was a gray-cheeked nunlet. And spot-crested woodpecker. But anyway, the big day is the next day. And that's the day that we're going to go see the Harpy Eagle. Now, there are about 18 or 20 people staying at the Canopy Camp when we were there. We were just 4 of about that number. And everyone went on the same day, and that was to reduce the amount of disturbance for the eagle. So it was just going to be one party of birders per week to this eagle nest. We started well before dawn, drove to the end of the Inter-American Highway, and then were put on canoes, motorized canoes, going downriver. There's the other canoe, so you can kind of get an idea of everybody's birding, of course, on the way down. We get to the little village of El Real, which is the jumping off spot for Darién National Park. And we get in trucks and they drive us to the beginning of the trail, and the trail leads to the foothills of Cerro Pire. En route, we have breakfast in the field, and we have to cross this little river over here on some stepping stones. And then we have about an hour and a half walk to the Harpy Eagle nesting area. And this is the sign that's put up by the Panamanian Natural Resources Authority, ANCON. So we were told to wait here while our guides went and checked out the situation. We had been warned that there was a chick in the nest and we would definitely see the chick, but that the parents only came in every other day to feed it. So we were probably not going to see the adult. And we waited for about 20 minutes and suddenly the guides came back and they're all very excited because the female was at the nest and she was feeding the chick. So we hurried forward and we see a huge huipo tree and a huge nest in the middle of it. And on that is 2 huge eagles. And that's the first picture I took from a distance. But they have a little blind set up and you can sit there and look at the bird, but you didn't really need to. They didn't seem to really care. This is a closer look, closer photograph actually taken through a scope. The chick is white, just like the crested eagle chick. And of course, this is the female. This is the largest eagle in the Americas and maybe one of the largest eagles in the world. I don't know if this is bigger than Stellars or not, but they're very much of a same size. she had killed a kinkajou, which is a little arboreal mammal somewhat related to raccoons, and was feeding it to the chick. I can see the chick has got the meat and he's mantling it. And the whole time he was screaming. You know, anytime she moved, he'd scream. So he's already very feisty. And she's watching him carefully. I took this video. It's not great because it's through a telescope, but I think you might enjoy seeing it. And anyway, suddenly the eagle female left the nest. Now this is a crummy photo because it's a photo off the back of someone's camera, but it's the only photo taken of the bird in flight. But I wanted everyone to take a look at those feet and those claws.
Oh, yeah.
The size of the legs of a female harpy is about equal to that of a person's wrist. So it is an extraordinarily powerful bird. On the way back, we saw our gray-cheeked nunlet. This is the gray-cheeked nunlet, sorry about it. They're a puff bird, a kind of puff bird. Another speciality of the Darién are the black oripendulas. Now, oripendulas are relatives of the oriole. They're really giant orioles. They have build hanging nests like this. This is one of the birds, so you can get an idea of the size vis-a-vis the nest. Another bird seen there was the red-throated caracara, which is a falcon, like all the caracaras are, but they feed on carrion primarily. The next day, which was a Thursday, if I remember, we went to a well-known trail called Sendero Quebrada Felix. Quebrada is a small stream. Felix is lucky. So we were hoping we were going to be lucky because we had a very specific target here. On the way in, though, we passed along these hills, and all those trees are quipo trees, which were not yet in leaf. It's still early spring for them. This is the base of a quipo tree. It's supposed to look like the foot of an elephant, which I think it does. They don't have big buttress roots. On the way in, we ran into a really nice white hawk and a crested oripendular, a relative of the black oripendular, doing his display. Now, the people going to Panama are going to see quite a few oripendulas, hopefully, and this is the more common one. When they bend forward and dip their head, they make a sound that sounds like somebody pouring water out of a bucket, a strange gurgling note. White-tailed trogon, another beautiful trogon of the 7 or 8 species of trogons in Panama. The Pipeline Road is probably the best place that I've ever been for seeing trogons, by the way. They're all over the place.
It doesn't have a white tail.
That's because it's the back, Jay, the back of the tail. The front of the tail is all white. You know, most trogons have bars on the tail, and that one does not have bars. But unfortunately, though I asked it to, it didn't turn around so I could get a photo of the front. I'll do better next time. This is a whooping mott-mott. It's a split from the turquoise-browed mott-mott that people may have seen in Costa Rica. I don't think that's a particularly nice name, but that is. It's a whooping mott-mott. Flame rump tanager, even though the rump is yellow and not red. Don't ask me, I didn't name it. So here we are actually at Quebrada Felix. This is the little stream. And Eleazar is our guide here, and he's playing his iPhone for a particular target bird. This is our biggie, one of our biggies. This is the Black-crowned Antpitta or Black-crowned Antpitta, but it's not an Antpitta. They've done DNA work and found that it's related most closely to the gnatcatchers, but it's probably it and a rufous-crowned Pittisoma in Colombia are probably in their own family. So we're just sort of waiting for that. This bird was so tame that this is an iPhone photo. He just came right in and then just meandered around picking up insects and ignored us completely. It was pretty amazing because we had tried very hard to see this bird in our 2007 trip and missed it completely. That evening, we went to a farm near to the Canopy Camp. And this was quite a remarkable place. The woman, an elderly woman, had lived there for 40 years. And when she bought it, it was completely barren cow pasture. And for 40 years, she did nothing. It just let it grow up. And it shows you what you can do just in that relatively short period of time in restoration of tropical forests. I mean, it was the birding in her place was wonderful. We went there specifically to see great curassow, and unfortunately, we only got a briefest of glimpse of one. It saw us the same time we saw it, and it turned and ran the hell out of there, but we did see it. And she also had common patu, purple-throated fruit crow, black ant shrike, which is quite a rare bird, very difficult to see. So we were very impressed with this and this little reserve that she had on no more than 10 acres. The last day in the Darién, we spent at this abandoned road. Well, it isn't really abandoned, but it's not used for what it was originally used for. There's a shipping area at the other end, and it was that was all abandoned. And it's more of a dry forest. So here we are. And we saw a few nice birds like puffbird, roadside hawk, fork-tailed flycatcher, and and others. And we're all sort of tired. We had been there for all those days, 5 days, hard birding every day, all day. And so we're sort of all pretty droopy in the truck driving back. And Eleazar is driving, and we're all sort of drooping in the back seat. And suddenly he jams on the brakes and he says, "I think I saw a raptor sitting in the tree that we just passed." And he said, "Let's get out and not slam the door, and let's just walk back really carefully and quietly and see what's there." So we walked back quietly and carefully, and this is what we saw. A female dark-faced crested eagle sitting 10 feet from the road and maybe 10 feet off the ground. I mean, I've never been quite so close to such a huge raptor. And she watched us for about 15 minutes, and we watched her for about 15 minutes and took a lot of pictures. And then suddenly she just flew over our heads and disappeared. But this is the rarest color phase, and it's a bird you never see this close, but we did. So there you are. You never know what you're going to see when you're out birding. I just wanted to show this. This is the Centralobium seed pod. I think it looks a bit like a weaponized maple seed pod. But what was the funny story on this? It's a beautiful small tree with beautiful yellow flowers that look like locusts, big clumps of yellow locust flowers. And it was planted quite abundantly along some streets in the some of the Panamanian towns until they realized that the flowers were great, but when autumn came, everything, the lawns and everything were covered with these things. So no one could go around barefoot. This is a spaghetti palm. I wanted to just show you the flower of that plant. Was quite interesting. Now, I did want to talk a bit about the environmental issues there. Even though there's a lot of national park and protected area, and the indigenous communities are doing a lot to protect their land, there's still a lot of slash and burn agriculture and a lot of illegal or maybe semi-legal logging. So we did pass quite a few areas like this, and it was a little disturbing. And then on the way back, because we were in a drought, some of those areas that had been cleared, they slash and burn being the operative word, went for miles through these clouds of smoke. So hopefully the increase in ecotourism from Raul's place and other visitations by birders and people looking for adventure, because there's a lot of whitewater rafting and other things of that nature, that'll maybe slow this down a little bit. We spent a day and a half at Nasagundi, which is an area, which is an indigenous semi-autonomous region. You actually go through a checkpoint that's just like a customs. They look at your passport and so forth. We stayed at Gardook Lodge, which is not quite as luxurious as a Canopy Camp, very adequate. It's run by a Guna Indian family. Yarosel Adamus and her mother run it, and she's a budding bird guide. She's not a great expert, and her English is not perfect, but it's a great place to go birding, and very pleasant and congenial. We did one trail, which is infamous because it mostly goes straight down and then turns and goes straight up. But we had one target here, which was a bird that's extremely difficult to find. And also, if you're a lister of families, which I'm trying to be, you absolutely have to see this. And this is the best place in the world to see it. So we go down this trail, down, down, down. And we turn around and go up, up, up. This is Eleazar. He lugged a scope the whole way. We're very happy he did, actually. And then finally, at the second crossing of the second stream, we came to the bird we wanted, which is the Sapayoa. Now, you might look at that and you say, well, you know, what is it? Is it a fly? Yeah, big deal. Is it a flycatcher? Is it a mannequin? What is it? Well, they did DNA and they found out it's a broadbill. And the only other broadbills are in Asia. So go figure. Anyway, it's in its own family, but its closest relatives are broadbills. It's not very big. It's about the size of a phoebe, I'd say, but stockier. Yeah. Some other birds there, like blue-fronted parrotlet, rufous-winged tanager, which is the species I've been looking for maybe 20 years and finally saw it. Rufous mourner, which is a flycatcher, quite a large one, about the size of a Myiarchus, maybe bigger. And some beautiful swallowtail kites. And these are indigenous to the area. In other words, they weren't on migration. These particular kites breed in the area. So eventually we go back to the Canopy Tower. Now we had this plan. We had one last day at the Canopy Tower, and Carlos was going to take us to the Canopy Lodge, which was that lodge a couple of hours west of the canal, because they had been seeing a rufous vented ground cuckoo. And I just show you, the Kuna Indians are the ones who make these beautiful reverse applique molas. Many of you have seen these molas. Every one of these was done by Yarosel, Mrs. Adamus, Yarosel Adamis's mother. And we bought this one because it was the rufous vented ground cuckoo. And there's her, Mrs. Adamus with her in her Kuna Indian traditional garb holding her mola. And we're all looking forward to seeing this bird the next day because Carlos was going to take us to where they had been seeing it regularly. So we get back to the Canopy Tower in the evening, and we're met with the news that Carlos had not paid any attention to the signs that are everywhere at the tower to hold on to the railing when you climb the stairs. There's no elevator, you have to climb the stairs. And he had fallen down the stairs and broken his leg. So there were no guides available. Everybody else was booked with other parties to take us to the lodge. So we never did see the rufous vented ground cuckoo except for the mola.
Never did see it.
So the next day we spent locally. We went out to the Pipeline Road again. We saw golden winged warblers, several of them, and other migrants, and that was nice. So anyway, Tony and Peter are the next final and last morning. We're up on the tower. They're ready to go home. They're all dressed and packed. We're enjoying a kettle of about 200 Swainson's hawks making their way north. This is, you know, right off the tower, bird coming in very close, and watching our last red-legged honey creepers and our last green honey creepers. And then we see a scarlet tanager, and it reminds us that it's time for us to go north as well. And so that's it, the end.
Oh, it's question.
Bravo, bravo.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gail. It was so interesting. All the pictures were wonderful. I always enjoy your talks.
Yes, does anybody have any questions?
Do any nocturnal birding?
We didn't do any this time. When we were with the, we've got back and found Carlos had broken his leg. We said, well, maybe we can go out owling tonight, but they have owling on certain nights and it wasn't the night for owling, so we didn't get to go owling. But we went the first time we stayed at the Canopy Tower, and we had crested owl right over the truck, in this open truck, crested owl. So if you do go, the people staying at the Canopy Tower, I'm pretty sure are going to be taking owling at least one night. And you'll see nocturnal mammals too, various opossums. You may see tamandua, which is the anteater, and so forth. So any other questions?
Any goat suckers?
No. I'm not sure which ones are there. I mean, we had the plateau, which is sort of related, but not a true goat sucker. No.
Any mosquitoes?
Excuse me?
Any mosquitoes, Gail?
Any mosquitoes?
Oh, no mosquitoes. No bugs, no mosquitoes. Don't forget, there had been a 6-week drought.
Mhm.
In fact, we did have rain eventually, but the first time we went on the pipeline road, all the leaves were drooping and it looked really rather sad. Hopefully you guys going down in April, it's going to be a bit wetter and you'll have more activity with the ant swarms. The time we went the last time, 2007, we ran into a huge ant swarm that took up probably, I would say at least an acre of ants. And, is sort of standing around trying to avoid being taken apart by the ants. I mean, they don't really do that, but they will bite you if they go up your leg. And looking at all the birds that were coming in, and we did have a rufous-vented ground cuckoo that time. So we have seen it, but Tony and Peter have not, and probably never will now, unfortunately.
Gail, this is Kathy Brown, and I am going on the MOS trip, and
Yay,
I'm
good for
studying
you.
your foot gear. I'm
Oh,
from
foot
Frederick
gear.
County, by the way. Everyone seems to be wearing sturdy hiking boots.
No, we wear, we don't. We wear these sort of tennis shoe shaped walking boots, but they're,
Oh,
they're
okay.
leather boots, but they're made by Merrill,
Okay.
And
Okay.
now several people have asked me, well, what happens if it's wet, if it's rainy, do you need Wellington boots and that kind of thing? We have waterproof socks we bought.
Hmm.
And they're made by a company called Bamboo.
Okay.
It's about $25 or $30, and they're wonderful. We got them when we went on our trip to China, and because we didn't want to be taking Wellingtons, and we had been warned it would be very rainy where we were going, and it was very rainy, and they were
Okay.
perfect. So you might look that up.
I will. Thank
A
you.
lot around here too. We wear them on days when it's
Mhm.
going to be
Heavy too.
heavy dew and stuff. Of course, your boots may still get wet, but your feet
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
don't. Okay. And take an umbrella, little folding umbrella.
Okay.
Yeah, because we never, if it's hot, you're not going to be wanting to wear anything like a poncho or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so everybody who does any tropical birding soon learns how to bird holding an umbrella.
Okay. Yeah. No, I wouldn't thought about that. Thank you.
Yeah. And if anybody has any questions, you can email me later too, if you want to.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
What was your
Anywho.
favorite bird on the trip?
what was the best
favorite
bird?
on the trip?
Yeah, either that big female crested eagle or the black-crowned Antpitta were the best birds for me.
Had you seen most of them before?
No, neither one. They were both life birds. Yeah.
But
In fact, one of the reasons we went to the Darién when we went was because we knew they had nested nesting harpy and crested eagles. Now, we had seen harpy eagle before years and years ago, like 2003 or something like that. And it was just one bird, a male perched in a tree. And that was a very impressive bird, but this was a much more impressive experience, seeing the female feeding the chick and this
That
immense.
video was awesome.
Yeah. And you will definitely, you guys going down are definitely going to see good raptors, but unfortunately, you don't see harpy eagle that often at the tower and the canopy. Yeah. I mean, they have been seeing them. I think they even had some from the top of the tower, maybe a couple of months ago, they had one. So they were reintroduced to the canal zone, and they have been thriving. So keep your fingers crossed. You may see one.
Might get lucky.
You might get lucky. I might get very lucky. And you're probably going to get rufous-fended ground cuckoo, because I think they've become much more regular at the lodge. And I think at the lodge, they also have been going to a site where they can get this black-crowned Antpitta, the Pittasoma. So, you know, you may very well get very lucky. I hope you do. It's a wonderful place. And and the thing about it is so easy. You go down there, they pick you up at the airport. That's it. There's wine with dinner and everything like that. And who knows, you know, you may get Brad Pitt there. Who knows? Probably not.
Well, he was there once, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, okay, is that it?
Oh, I
Thank
have a
you so
question,
much.
Gail. Oh,
Thank you, Gail.
Okay. Bye-bye then.
Go ahead, Sherry.
oh, Gail, I did have one question.
Sure.
In your presentation, you was talking about this one property that was being reestablished or whatever for like 8 or 10 years.
No, 40 years.
Excuse me?
40 years.
Okay.
40, yeah.
Oh, wow. And then there was this one particular bird that kind of blended in with the bark of the tree, and it was kind of vertical.
Yeah, that's a common patoo.
Okay.
And it's related to the group that includes things like whippoorwills and nightjars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there you'll see great patoo and common patoo when you go down to Panama. Great patoo looks just like the common one, only it's twice as big. But I don't have a good picture of that one. It looked like a lump.
Okay. Did you hear its vocal? Did it go like paw, paw, paw? It's not the.
Yeah, they do. They go paw, 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 paw. But the great patoo goes "Rouse."
He wrote me up.
It sounds like someone vomiting, actually. And so you're lying there at bed. I mean, I heard them in Peru. You're lying there, you know, in your tent or whatever, and you hear off in the forest, "Rouse, rouse." That's the great patoo. You may not see it, but you'll hear it.
I've always been enticed by the one that goes paw, paw, paw.
Yeah,
paw.
yeah, that's the common.
I remember
patoo,
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
common
I
patoo,
like it.
yeah. We didn't actually hear it because, of course, it was at this person's property. We didn't stay there. And although there's a lot of birds around the Canopy Camp, and there are trails and so forth there, we didn't actually spend that much time doing their trails. And I never heard of patoo. The other thing I had there, which I'd never seen, I had a life mammal. It's called a kalinga. And it's sort of, again, related to kinkajaus and raccoons. And it's a sort of a beige colored, long-tailed arboreal mammal. And it was a life mammal for me.
Did you get a picture?
No, we had it at night. I mean, we did do some night birding. Actually, I take it back, Jay. We had parakis. We had common parakis. If Jay is still with us, probably not. Anyway, so that's the only nightjar we had was parakis. Okay.
Would you spell the waterproof socks? I think you said Bamba, but I didn't quite get
No,
it.
it's bamboo, just like the plant, bamboo. And you can get them
Okay.
through Amazon.
Oh,
Aha, thank you.
Okay. And I guess that's, I mean, there are other waterproof socks. You can get Gore-Tex socks. These are, they actually are made from bamboo in part, some of the fibers of bamboo. Hence,
Do you need mosquito repellent when you go there?
I would take it, but you know, I wouldn't worry. I mean, I don't remember any mosquitoes, but please remember, we were there at the end of a drought and trying to remember from 2007. But one thing you may need to watch out for if you go to any field areas or grassy areas are either chiggers or seed ticks. So you'll definitely want to spray your pants with permethrin and your socks, maybe not your waterproof socks, but your regular socks with permethrin and let it dry for 24 hours before you wear it. So I would do it before you go and hang them out and let them air. And also tuck your pants inside your socks, and you can spray around your ankles and stuff. Ask the guides, they'll tell you if the area is a possibility for either chiggers or seed ticks. I remember getting them in Costa Rica, and it's a similar, you know, that's the next country up. So I can't imagine that Panama doesn't have them. I've never gotten them in Panama, but there you are. There are a lot of butterflies for you people who are into butterflies, morpho butterflies, owl butterflies. I tried very hard to get a photo of a morpho, but you know, every time they land, they shut up, and the underside of a morpho butterfly is not the most interesting part. So, okay.
Thank you, Gail. I just want to make another announcement that I forgot to mention earlier. There was an email that went out today, a newsgram, and they're looking for volunteers for work days at the MOS sanctuaries. And the first one is March 19th at Mill Creek Sanctuary in Talbot County. And the other one is at Irish Grove, April 1st through the 3rd. So check that newsgram for further details if you'd like to help out with that.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
well.
Thank
I'll
you,
send
Gail.
You great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Say
thank you,
goodbye.
Gail. Wonderful.
I'm putting together a talk on a trip I did, I guess this now would be about 6 years ago, but I finally realized I had enough photographs to do it on Taiwan. So if you want to leap from one continent to the other, I'll try to get that together maybe for next year.
Perfect. We always enjoy your programs.
I wrote
Okay,
it
bye-bye.
down.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Gail.
Would like to travel again. Yeah, I'm jealous of you guys going there. Maybe if someone drops out.
Oh.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.